Hello and welcome. I would like to introduce to you my focusing course for beginners online called Focusing Level 1 to 5. And I will talk about what's the content of the course, what do you learn, what is the structure, how is it offered, and ways to start. And the way I would like to start right now is to just say a few words about why even focusing, what focusing is for. And there's so much that could be said about it, but just briefly, it's an art of listening, listening to yourself and another, and the way by which you become able to access your inner intelligence. Uh, it's a process where there is a silent listening for that and a sensing combined, though, with explicating with words. Some say one could compare it with intuition. There's different ways of talking about it. But if one compares it with intuition, one could say uh, what that is, demystified. There is a way to deliberately, step by step, access it. Or, yeah, it's not really steps, it's a flowing process. Perhaps I should say, step by step, learn how to uh, find access to your inner intelligence. And with that, we find an before unrecognized meaningfulness within uncomfortable or unclear aspects, which then really supports a process of change. For example, if feels stuck in something, in decision making or relating to self or others, it opens up like in a natural forward direction. At times, it's just about digesting what happened and yeah, to come to terms with things how they are. So overall, I would say through this process, we can really find trust in our own unique direction in life, moment to moment, and but also beautifully more and more appreciating diversity and other people being different. So it comes together. It's beautiful. Now, what will you learn specifically in this course? The course is for partnership focusing, which is a format where friends can come together, two people who have learned the process, and one goes into their process, the focuser, and the listener offers their presence, offers reflections, and with more skill offers suggestions or invitations. Um, It could be used in other formats, focusing alone or in triads with three people or in group process. However, this course primarily offers structures and agreements and rules of confidentiality, all the things that are beneficial for a partnership process. It is a movement, though, the focusing movement that shows up once it's learned in everyday life all the time. So it becomes something really natural, or actually, it is something really natural that's just uncovered or refined. It flows into people's professional life, although this course isn't specifically about using focusing professionally, but it just does. However, there's a possibility to also go into professional training, for which this course would be the first step, would be the foundation. But more about that is on my website. And now about this course, what do you learn? As a listener, how to listen, how to offer presence in a welcoming way to whatever arises for the focuser, and what even to listen for. When offering reflections to the focuser, uh, what what's important to be reflected out of all the things that show up, and how to reflect. So in other words, one might say to learn how to be supportive for a person, for the focuser in their process without trying to help, basically just following the process, but really, really being of support in a very beautiful, simple way. The person who goes into the process, the focuser, is basically slowing down, pausing with that what one's attention that given day. If it's a topic that was clear before the partnership or whatever spontaneously arises, but whatever needs attention shows itself, and how to be with that in a safe, self-responsible way. So the focuser can theoretically do their process on their own, and yet it works nicer with a listener, and how to make use of the listener, because that too is quite an art. And also asking for what you need so that you can feel really supported and comfortable in your process. So the practice of focusing is based on a paradigm of change where a certain way of attending to an issue brings change, brings clarity, brings action steps where needed. So this way of attending, that's what is learned and practiced. And what the points that I just named are all covered in the basic focusing skills course level 1 and 2, which is 8 weeks. And so then basically you know how to have a focusing partnership. However, I always recommend to keep going through levels 3 to 5 because there is a chance for the whole process to become flowing and intuitive and no thinking, and it's just a different quality, of course, with more practice. Plus, more aspects are being introduced in level 3 to 5. So besides deepening the skill of listening from your whole self as a listener, you also learn ways of supporting the focuser when they find themselves in very fuzzy and unclear moments in which can be uncomfortable or can easily be skipped, those places. However, that's where something new and surprising arises. New insights, new things make sense. So in those moments, the listener can offer invitations and to support the focuser. And the invitations are simply invitations for how the focuser may stay with something, attend to something, and so that it's a very nice thing to learn. But that's only part of level 3 to 5. The focuser, different ways of starting the process, or rather to say the process can start anywhere, but wherever you are, how do you enter this process? If your mind keeps spinning and spinning and spinning and it's a loop and you know it's repetitive, how do you start the process from there? For example, so anywhere the process can start, and also speaking from the whole self, so just as the listeners listening from the whole self. And then also, for example, many situations bring different aspects within oneself. So if I want to make a decision and I'm unclear, there's probably multiple choices and possibilities, and this aspect speaks for that direction, and the next aspect for the next. So to give equal attention to all the aspects that are showing themselves for a good reason within, and to listen, be curious, and let something surprising show itself, but also to kind of step back and find more of a distance where it's not about all the many details and aspects, but a capacity to see the whole thing, experience the whole thing as a whole situation, and that too as a movement, the zooming in, going close, and zooming out, very beneficial and important. And of course, in this whole practice, learning to give each other feedback in a constructive way, and yeah, the sharing time after the process, how to be with it. So it's really a step-by-step learning. And obviously, at the end of a 6 months course, you have many more ways of being supportive to yourself and the other, and what to do, how to be in different moments. And it also simply becomes much more fluid and intuitive, where you, yes, you have integrated all the basic things that are possible, and now you do it as it comes to you spontaneously. So in this 2 to 6 month course format, there's a total of 20 classes, and there are some class breaks. So there's some weeks where there's no class. Each class lasts 3 hours, and it consists of demonstrations and practices and theory and sharing and question and answers. So it's a continuous flow between these different ways of learning, and there is also a break, 15-minute break within these 3 hours. So it's very organic how this shared time takes place. Also, additionally to the classes, the students meet every week, also in the class break weeks, for a partnership practice with each other, which lasts around an hour. And so that everything that's learned can really be integrated, and you learn this tool of focusing, and even however you choose to do that, it becomes a really beneficial process while you're learning. There are also handouts, there are recordings. If someone misses a class, they can listen to the recording to catch up. And the handouts are quite brief, doesn't take much time, 15 minutes perhaps per week to read them. They're just some more points than I can cover in class. It's nice to have something to go back to and read again. How was this? But the learning can also take place without reading if that's preferred. What's unique also about my way of offering this learning of focusing is that I make 3 one-on-one sessions as part of this course, and I find this hugely beneficial. The first session is quite common, where you would be the focuser, I'm the listener, and you just simply experience, is this for you? Is it beneficial? Does it catch your interest? Would you like to learn more? Here I want to say that the focuser keeps anything that wants to be kept private or confidential to themselves. Nothing needs to be expressed, exposed if not wanted, and the process will still work. So it feels very safe. The other 2 sessions are, one is where I just check with each one halfway through. How are you with the learning? What's clear? What's unclear? What more would you like? And just so that it's really a course that is for those who are present, which is of course every time different. Each course is different from the next. And finally, the last session is where you would be my listener, or it could be an exchange, but for me to experience you as a listener, and I can share in which way it has been benefiting me, and also give you some feedback, what you can pay attention to in your listening. And so that's it. And after the course, there is a possibility to apply for what's called the Proficiency in Focusing Partnership Award, offered by the International Focusing Institute. So that's a possibility if you become a member, and it opens the doors for you for the worldwide partnership network. So you can always find someone to have a partnership with, see their profile, see who you want to meet with. But next to that, my experience has been that many of the students continue to meet past my course, and just whoever they found, they enjoy focusing with, where it's beneficial to make this part of their daily life. So if this sounds interesting for you, what's the first step? I suggest you can book a focusing session and online. Works really well online as well as live, but it's a 1 hour session and you can just simply experience, does it feel beneficial? Does it make you curious to learn more about it? And there are other ways to connect, which you can find on my website. That's movewithlife.org, and that's spelled move-with-life.org. And there you find so much more and can explore about it if you'd like, and or just contact me and get a direct experience. So I hope this was interesting and makes you curious, and perhaps I will meet you one day.